Hey, my name is Caleb Harkins. I'm presenting on the last discussion board for Social Forces, and this is a response to the federal budget and the bipartisan meeting on the Affordable Health Care Act. From what we've heard today, our current healthcare system is at risk of collapsing in on itself at the rate we're going now. We've heard from Kent that the Treasury Office estimates that Medicare funds will expire and will basically just be broke by 2018. As Mr. Coburn has stated, 50% of all of those Medicare funds are used up by 5% of individuals. And of that, 1/3 is calculated as potential waste. We've also heard some promise today as the system in Texas with malpractice reform, where they have been able to incentivize doctors moving into the state, while other states in the union have had trouble recruiting doctors, and a lot of doctors have left practice due to increased malpractice insurance cost and increased malpractice insurance claims. So there clearly needs to be something done here, but there is some uncertainty on if this Affordable Health Care Act is the best way to go about that change, or if there is an alternative as proposed by Mr. McCain. If the agreements cannot be made before the Affordable Health Care Act is put into place, then there can be some very large repercussions in terms of our federal budget. The federal budget has a large portion of Medicaid cost and insurance marketplace and exchange on the back of each individual state. And if these states decide to, for some reason, default back to the federal government, that will incur a large amount of unpredicted costs back onto the federal government, increasing our deficit and increasing the cost of this affordable health care program, which does rely on the states in a large percentage. There's also a risk, as if we pass this bill with a lack of support, that it could damage any further bipartisan negotiations and potentially even cause a government shutdown. Oh, that already happened. But on another note, this expansion of the healthcare system by the federal government will boost, and if not, it'll boost the healthcare system above Social Security, above defense, above all these other major expenditures of the federal government. It'll put our healthcare system at number one. It was number two. Social Security was the highest cost. Now, after this bill is passed, by 2014, it will be the highest cost of the federal budget of our GDP. There's a few things we should mention here. The Congressional Budget Office, CBO, has calculated that this Affordable Health Care Act could decrease our national deficit from 10% of our GDP to 2.1% of our GDP by next year, 2015. This could likely this calculation could change as we near 2022. The population of the United States is aging, and this could increase healthcare costs and decrease the progress we would make towards our deficit. Mr. Ryan has suggested that the CBO calculate the cost of repealing this act, and the CBO was unable to completely calculate that in time for the Senate hearing, but their calculations and their estimations have said that the potential repeal would increase our deficit by $109 billion. The Affordable Health Care Act, and it does cost the federal government a large percentage. It's going to cost the federal government $1.2 trillion, and that's going to be increases in Medicaid, increases in federal subsidies, but it's also going to save the federal government $1.3 trillion, and that's by cost-reducing insurance claims and increasing revenue in the healthcare sector, job growth, and things like that. So that's where our $109 billion comes from. So as we've seen, the federal budget is going to be greatly affected by this Affordable Health Care Act and the decisions made by this Congress and the next Congress, where if we feel something needs to be done and we don't act on it, it could cost this country a lot of money and just continue to raise our debt ceiling and our federal deficit. So thanks.